Maintenant, un échange crucial sur le secteur maritime et portuaire en Afrique, au cœur de la croissance économique et de la durabilité. Nous accueillons Jan Hoffmann, Head of Trade Logistics, à la conférence des Nations Unies sur le commerce et le développement, un pilier dans ce domaine pour des insights précieux sur les enjeux actuels. Une discussion incontournable s'annonce donc avec Monsieur Hoffmann, expert mondial. Ça se passe ici, sur le Business Now TV Show, interviewé par Fadwa Aboujiyed.
Maritime and port sector in Africa is currently at the center of crucial discussions concerning intra-African cooperation, economic growth, and sustainability. Ports play a vital role in intercontinental trade and the industrial development of neighboring regions. Recent debates have shed light on the opportunities and the challenges in this rapidly evolving context, ranging from accelerated digitization to green strategies for the future of African ports. Mr. Jan Hoffmann, welcome and thank you for accepting our invitation to participate in the Now on Top Stories program. We appreciate your willingness to share your expertise and insights on the topic of maritime trade in Africa and the digitization of the development of African ports. Recent discussions at the TOC Africa conference have highlighted the crucial importance of cooperation among stakeholders in African maritime trade. As a globally renowned expert in maritime trade and ports, could you explain how this cooperation can enhance the smooth flow of intra-African trade and stimulate economic growth on the continent, especially in light of the African Continental Free Trade Area?
The African Continental Free Trade Area is a huge opportunity. Africa, by order of magnitude of its population, economic potential, is comparable to China, the EU, or India. But Africa has, I counted, 108 bilateral borders. So imagine if it were one really common market, one country, you would not have all these borders, and behind each border there are differences in standards, business practices, tax regimes. So border agencies, customs, trade station is absolute key. And there the African CFTA is really making lots of efforts beyond the regional communities to advance. Transit is one of the topics under trade station. We have IT solutions that connect landlocked countries to the ports, which are now the allies of the landlocked countries. Transport markets are important, especially under, again, the African CFTA. We hope you will allow companies from one African country to do business and invest logistics, services, port operations, and so on in the other countries. So the African CFTA gives opportunities to the service providers to set up shop. And it will also create more demand. So it's both. It's the trade in goods. So we hope to have more trade in goods among African countries. And these goods have to be moved, have to be shipped. You need agents, you need trucks, you need transport providers, freight forwarders. And these can then also work in the other African countries. Really a huge opportunity. One other thought on your question. There's also an opportunity coming out of the COVID crisis, because during the pandemic we have seen a surge in demand for more digital solutions. Risk management, pre-arrival processing, e-payments, inter-agency cooperation. In general, a lot of more digital solutions have surged during this period. So I like to say we have to lock in the progress made during lockdown, also to the benefit and especially to the African CFTA.
Tanger Medport has undisputably become a leader in Africa since 2017, largely due to its geostrategic position and proactive approach to infrastructure development and digitization. How do you envision the role of Tanger Med evolving in the light of AfCFTA, and what specific innovations are on their way to enhance its competitiveness as a key gateway of Mediterranean and intra-African trade?
Yes, effectively, Tanger Med is an impressive success story. We have observed how it literally appeared on the map when we map our different indicators, our statistics about port traffic, vessel calls, liner shipping connectivity. The latest review of maritime transport, latest KPIs, latest data, time in port, position in networks, port performance. Tanger Med is number one in Africa and in some of these in the Mediterranean. But the beauty of the port business is that it's not mainly about competition. Yeah, for some transshipment, yes, for a little bit neighboring ports for the hinterland, but most ports want to work with other ports. If other ports become more efficient, all other ports also benefit because every port needs the other ports to connect and to trade. So other African ports that can connect through an efficient Tanger Med can also enhance their own trade. So we are happy that Tanger Med is among our partner ports in a number of projects. The UNCTAD Sustainable and Smart Port Project and also our collaboration under the African Ports Task Force. So Tanger Med, in that sense, has this double positive role among the African ports. It helps all trade, African trade, to connect, but it really has this, I highly appreciate this proactive attitude of wanting to help, because they understand it's very, very little about competition. It's much, much more about connecting and collaborating. So I very much hope and expect that we can expand this partnership further with our future port program, the port management program, Train for Trade. We always have more ideas than time and money, and hope that we can work even more with Tanger Med on this topic.
You mentioned the importance of digitization and the environmental dimension in the development of African ports. Could you provide an overview of the current challenges facing ports in Africa in this context, particularly due to the pandemic and the crisis in Ukraine? What strategies do you recommend for overcoming these challenges and promoting an environment conducive to the industrial development of hinterlands in Africa?
Absolutely. A good question. All ports, not only African ports, have opportunities and challenges coming out of the impending energy transition, the biggest challenge, ongoing transition for shipping, decarbonizing maritime transport. The challenge is the shipping lines and shippers, the challenge for the ports, that the clients is the cargo and the transport, will demand more from the seaports in terms of bunkering supply, new alternative fuels, but also energy supply, like so-called cold ironing and shore supply for the ships. Port community systems will be ever more important to integrate information about ships, cargo, and fuels. And all this requires digitalization. There's also an opportunity, especially for many African ports, to become providers of alternative fuels. The so-called power to X. So that means you convert solar or wind or renewable energy into fuels that can be used by the ships. The key problem for all players is the uncertainty as regards future fuels, future carbon prices, future specific economic and technical regulations coming out of the International Maritime Organization, the IMO. The IMO is really doing a tremendous job in advancing the energy transition for the maritime sector, for shipping. It's easy to criticize, but in reality, the sector is more advanced than, I dare say, any other sector. We have the opportunity of a global multilateral framework. But please, dear ports, do not wait. Ports that are the first movers can really benefit from the new businesses created by this energy transition. So lots of new opportunities here, especially for African ports.
As we wrap up this insightful conversation, thank you again, Mr. Jan Hoffmann. Your expertise has enriched our understanding, and we are grateful for the wealth of knowledge you've shared.